Hidden Object Guru here, joined by...
The Gun Wrangler.
He's starting us up a new Warhammer Martyr mission, and we're going to talk some more... What's this? Yeah, that's fine. Like, I'm going to complain about the mission choice. Yeah, and we're going to be talking some more television. But before we get into the shows, there was big Star Trek news this week. Well, not really big. It broke last month, but the mainstream media only found out about it this week.
Yeah, you had to be in Las Vegas at, like, StarCon.
Yeah.
To know. But the big news is Picard is getting his own damn show. And while we both object to Trek having a main character...
Picard would be the one to have. Like, the Adventures of Picard, it'd be pretty awesome.
In terms of mainstream appeal, yes.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what the continuing adventures of Picard are. Like,
yeah,
he's an admiral now. They generally don't go and do things, but you know what? It's been 30 years, so I guess he can go and do it. Well, 25 years, he can go and do whatever he wants, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be
especially in the aftermath of the Dominion War.
Yeah, and that's
which
the real
was
question.
essentially where we left.
Yeah, modern continuity.
Yeah.
We don't really know what's happened after that. We know, idiotically, that they made Janeway an admiral.
Oh my god.
That woman did not have leadership skills. Although, given the crappy level of most of the admirals we ever met in Starfleet, I guess she'll fit right in. But yeah, it's not like there were a lot of super competent admirals running around.
Like there's Admiral Ross, who was, in bed with Section 31.
Yeah. Oh, there's the guys who got replaced by brain slugs. There were all the people who were constantly ordering them to do stupid things that got everybody killed. Admirals. It was not a show that had great things to say about the chain of command.
True, which is ironic.
It is?
Well, there was a lot of, you have to obey the Prime Directive, even when, it's
That's
super
true,
dumb
yes.
all the time.
It was super dumb all the time. Especially, and it's like, what I always bothered me about Prime Directive is they would be so selective in its use. So ridiculously selective in its use. Because they'll even pull it out when they're doing it, when they're dealing with
We're not taking a dump.
Well, no. When they're dealing with a race that they have, like, diplomatic relations with. Like, there are races that they full-on have diplomatic relationships with, and they'll have some crazy policy like, every law is punishable. Every single law that you break is punishable by death on this planet.
Yeah.
You have to let them kill your crew members. No. Of course you don't. That's a ridiculous law. And I know that part of that is as much politics as it is, government, as it is following the Prime Directive from a just following orders thing. But still, so much of that makes no sense. Did you call down rain, or is this something the bad guys are doing? Oh, that's me. Sorry, that's me. My bad.
Smooth.
Yeah, I had called up a void storm. That was on accident. I apologize. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to be there for whatever they want to do with Picard, right? Like, I'm not crazy. I love Picard as much as anybody else loves Picard, which is a ton.
Possibly more.
Possibly more. But, I retain my skepticism about the whole project of doing a Star Trek show about a main character. That being said,
so be it.
I'm only talking about traditional Star Trek shows there. I guess I will admit that it is entirely possible to do a different kind of show in the world of Star Trek that is just about a dude having adventures, but that's not what we've gotten so far.
How'd that work out with Discovery?
Well, no, I said no, that's the problem. It tried to do that and a traditional Star Trek show about having adventures on a ship at the same time.
Oh,
It
Discovery.
tried to be two things.
Discovery makes Enterprise look good. Not just good, very good.
But my point is, the problem there was they were trying to do two separate and distinct things. One of them be a modern show about a single character who's kind of a dick all the time, right? And also to tell a big dramatic story. Whoops. If you could heal me, that would be great. But no rush. Thank
You're
you.
up.
Right? But at the same time, they were also trying to do a traditional Star Trek show about traveling to new planets and meeting new races and having an ongoing adventure. And because it was trying to do both things at once, it couldn't work. Like, it was setting itself up to fail. I think if you didn't set the show just on a ship like every other Star Trek show, or space station in case of the best Star Trek show, if you just told a story about a person living in that world, maybe even outside of Starfleet, you could do that show well. Which is why I guess where I'm going to start the statement is, I hope when we meet the show, when we meet Picard in this show, I hope he's retired. I hope he's retired and gone to pursue archaeology, his first love, on some planet somewhere, and then a bunch of stuff happens. That's what I would like to see.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, something different.
I don't know. For me, I've been rewatching DS9 lately because...
Why would you ever not be rewatching DS9? I understand completely.
Well, I'm watching it like late at night because I've got chronic pain issues, let's say.
Yeah.
So...
You're going to be up anyway. Why not watch the best TV show of the 1990s? Yes.
Well, I don't know. It's been tempting to fire up B5, but...
the other best TV show of the 1990s.
The other, yes. But,
there's two.
I rewatched The Wire and a few other like select shows at conservative commentators recommendation.
Okay.
And I was surprised. I'm like, good lord, is DS9 ever dark? I rewatched The Wire today, actually.
Yeah.
And I was reminded that, you know, Bashir just sort of rolls up on an Abrantane who's the head of the Obsidian Order, is like, hey, yo, what up? I need some information.
I know.
Without seeming to understand that this guy would, yes, he's going to order you Tarkalian tea, because he's showing you that he knows exactly who you are and what you do and how you
walk
do
in.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And an Abrantane's, I'd say at that point, I'd suspect that an Abrantane actually knows he's an augment.
That wouldn't surprise me.
And so...
Given the sources that man has,
yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me at all.
So, you know, and he's trying to be polite, saying, listen, you're here at my largesse.
Oh, yeah. Completely.
Right? And Bashir just doesn't seem to get it. And I'm just like, oh my god.
He spends a good amount of time bumbling through. And that's one of the things we love about the character.
Well, no, the fact, like, the subtext is, hey, yeah, I could just have you tortured to death for information.
Yeah, but you could be useful to me.
You amuse me.
Well, no, he also, because he's aware of his relationship to Garrick, he knows he could be useful. Like, yeah, on one level, he is just amused by this guy playing at spy, which is what he spends a lot of time doing. But he's also always aware of how useful he could be, given Garrick's feelings towards him. Like, there is that element to it. But you know what? We can save that to our DS9 cast.
Yes.
Now we're going to talk about Man in the... Oh, no, that's going to happen. Now we're going back to Man in the High Castle, which is a just good 3 episodes. We watched 103 to 105, and I was very interested to see how fast that story moved.
Yeah.
Much faster than I thought it was going to.
It keeps moving.
he gets tortured and his family gets killed, and he's got a gun and he's getting bullets the next episode.
Admittedly,
and I know that the prince is in town just then anyway, and that's like why they have to move it, but a normal show could have stretched out that day for a couple of episodes, or just had the prince be coming next week. But no, like, they're really moving things along. Then I found out the season's only 10 episodes, so I understand why. They got a lot
seasons
to
are
get
only
through.
10 episodes, but at the same time,
Oh, no, it's still a bold choice to not save that to closer to the end of the season, and I respect, them wanting to do the craft that way, and I look forward to seeing how the story keeps advancing and keeps speeding up as we head towards the rest of the season.
it's one of those things that I really do appreciate about Man in the High Castle.
Yeah.
It just doesn't faff about.
No, it really is moving. That being said, I will complain about one thing
Which is?
that happens. Well, no. So, Bern Gorman showed up as the marshal, a guy who just loves murder.
Yep.
who
And
just,
finger amputation, which is one of my few rare squicks.
Ugh, right? That was rough. He's a creep. He's a monster.
He's a creep, but... Oh, down I go.
Can I save you, or are you...
Yeah, you can save me.
How do I do that? Right-click, or...
You got some problems.
Oh, no, I got killed, too.
Yeah.
All right. I did not notice the sheer volume of dudes running around. Anyway.
But I really don't get bothered by much.
But that one's just one of your triggers.
Yep. Don't
Yeah,
call
I
it
get
that,
that.
though.
Okay,
No,
if you're going to start politicizing the word trigger, you've really got to, take a look at yourself.
Makes it sound so undignified. Like I'm just going to crawl into a ball.
Oh my god. No, you're just going to get squicked, which is all trigger means. So relax. Although, you are, just to point out, you are getting triggered by the word trigger. All right, now, I'll leave that there.
I'm just getting furious. There's a difference.
Again,
no.
Trigger just means provokes a reaction. So, but yeah, it's good. But there's a scene in there that really bothered me because I'm like, I know you're better than this show, which is he gets cornered, right, by the marshal, and they club him over the head, and he's stunned, and now they're like, quick, we got to get out of here. No, you got to shoot him in the head. He's a Nazi bounty hunter.
Well, no. Here's the thing: if you conk someone over the head,
yeah,
and let's face it, if you conk a cop over the head so badly that he's unconscious,
yeah,
you're going away for grievous bodily harm of a law enforcement officer. So you're looking at 20 to life.
yeah.
What's the harm in that extra 5 years?
No, but seriously, in this situation, there is no real law enforcement here. He's all on his own. You have good reason to believe he hasn't called in, information about you and where you are.
Oh, nope.
Well, no,
Nope,
but I'm just
right.
saying he might have called in. Well, no, there's no reason. They, in that situation, have no reason to believe he's, called in any important information about them. But more importantly, there's no downside to killing him.
There really isn't.
There's no downside to killing this guy. The only upside is he'll report you later. And then they have to go through this, frankly, ridiculous scheme to fake her death so he won't be able to tell people she's still alive. And I'm like, that's great and all, but you left him alive and he could just find a picture of you.
Yeah, like literally any picture.
Considering that the person he was looking for was your frigging sister, it suggests to me he might end up finding a picture of you, and then your whole I faked my death thing has gone out the window. Weirdly, there's an easy fix to this. She wants to kill him, and, Nazi Joe drags her away because he thinks it could be, he doesn't want to get into the, trouble with his superiors that could be caused by killing a successful Nazi bounty hunter. That's an easy fix for that scene.
Directly after killing, I'd like to note.
Yeah, a different actual Nazi bounty hunter. Right? He's already possibly in trouble, and he could, like, that character could want to avoid the hassle. So I would have bought that. But for them both to be just, oh, let's run away from the Nazi bounty hunter who knows our faces and will continue chasing us. Like, and the thing is, you just don't have to have that scene happen. Just have them trick him and get away. Like, you don't have to have a scene where they have him at their mercy and then flee. You know?
It does seem kind of silly and pointless.
Yeah, it's silly and pointless, and it makes them look like they're not taking this as seriously as they should be. Because every other character in this series takes things frigging seriously.
Well, they take it beyond seriously. They're just like, well, there are real consequences to this, and I want nothing to do with... Like, look at the character of the guy played by DJ Qualls, who's like, nope.
I know! He's like, no, we gotta stay on the right side of this.
And, like, throughout the series, I have to admit, I do like DJ Qualls' character.
Oh, well, don't spoil anything, really, but
I won't, but, like, you can tell that, you know, if DJ Qualls had literally anyone else in his life...
Oh, no!
He wouldn't be doing the things
needy.
he does.
You are right. He is very needy. But yeah, it's a very propulsive 3 episodes. It moves super quick. You've got one thing that was unbelievable. You got Frank when he's going to try to buy bullets, yelling at a Japanese couple.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
I'm like, I get that you're pissed, but you're trying to assassinate the head of state of Japan? Maybe don't draw attention to yourself.
Just gonna say.
Yeah. There's a couple of moments where it's like, I understand where that's satisfying for the character, but I don't believe that character would make that mistake given the situation they're in. Which is a pretty frigging dire situation.
Yes. Because it's one of those things that's reinforced time and time again that there are no small consequences.
No, that's
If you get abducted, you will be tortured to death.
Yeah.
And then your family will likely be tortured. Excuse me, to death.
Yeah.
Especially that scene with, like, his family who's like, are we going to wait here for Papa? And they just gas them, and they have specific rooms set up to do it.
Well, no, and the minute you see, and that's another good bit of table setting, when you see the room where everything's covered in plastic, because that means you can hose the room down later if they vomit and bleed and foul themselves.
Yeah, and you're just like,
oh,
dear Lord in heaven.
Well, it's their job. They know how this stuff works.
Well, what I'm saying is more, this shit is quite dark.
Oh, it's super dark. But yeah, it is. Oh, it's rough to watch. Like it really is. Like it's a hard show.
You really do need to take breaks.
Yeah, no, you do. That being said, in the next episode, she tries to decide whether she wants in on the rebellion, but she notably does not have what it takes to be in on the rebellion. But of course, fate.
She lacks, for a better word, the nuts.
Yes, she really does. To truly go undercover and do whatever it takes to go undercover. Which sucks. But of course, fate conspires to get her on the radar of Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa anyway. But of course, that makes perfect sense for the character Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa was playing anyway, the trade minister, because, well, obviously, this is a man who is guided by fate, who lets fate choose everything. I'm sure he and it's a question. Here's the real thing. In the book, he is literally a slave of fate, right? He has total faith in the I Ching, but in the show, where an alternate reality is a true thing, or something like it. I still don't know where it's going exactly, but they seem to be suggesting that. My question is, I don't remember it from the book, but the way Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa is playing it, I honestly wonder whether is his character a slave of fate, or does he use his fortune telling to justify his moral objection to what is happening with the Nazis?
I will not discuss this matter
Oh, 'cause
because
it comes up later.
it is a very major part of the last 3 episodes of the season.
Then okay, we will wait until we're watching the last 3 episodes before we talk about that one. But
Yeah.
you're the direction I've gone in is something the show addresses. Okay.
Yes,
All right,
because it
cool.
is. This show is extremely well put together.
Oh well, I've noticed
And-
that already.
It's like Wolfenstein without, 80 lines of
Over-the-top
coke.
grindhouse aesthetic.
I do like the grindhouse aesthetic, though. It's more
Well, of course.
it's like, yeah.
I'm not objecting to it. I'm just saying that's the difference. But yeah, so very good 3 episodes with that one problem with the Marshal. I understand you like Bern Gorman, you want to see him again. I get that, but find a better way to do it, is my only comment there.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
very well put together is the assassination scene.
Very much.
Attempted assassination. That's just beautifully edited, beautifully constructed. Really loved that sequence. One of the things I like most about the spaceships and areas in this game is that if you look at the map, it actually looks like Space Hulk map placards.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
They're built out of the board game, and I love that. Such a nice element. Also nice, have you tried destroying pillars in this game?
I have not. It
Okay,
really hasn't
once we've
been.
killed these enemies, I want you to destroy a pillar, and you're gonna find something super neat.
Now you are gone.
But I'm not gonna spoil it because I just want you to see the visual and be impressed. Yeah.
So far,
but-
oh wow! I just accidentally. Wow. Okay, that's cool.
You saw it? Yeah, doesn't that
Well,
look
no,
great?
there was a space marine covering behind a pillar.
Okay, yeah,
and
it
I've got a
breaks into
plasma gun, so-
1,000 pieces. It's just
Yeah,
such a
and
nice
it comes
visual.
down from the ceiling. That is a cool thing.
Yeah, and it's such a minor thing. It happened to me accidentally in the one of the tutorials. I was when you're taking cover from the one of the cannons, like the cannon can blow up the thing you're hiding behind, and I'm like, wow, that looked great. So yeah, just not. But then again, this game is full of just beautiful visuals, like the way people explode when you kill them.
I have to say, I am very impressed with this game, and I've been looking for something that's not Diablo 3 to play.
Yeah, and Space Diablo is a good second choice. What the hell is that thing? Oh, that's probably a warp tornado. That's my bad again. All right, so still doing a great job. I'm still impressed with how the show's going, and I'm looking forward to seeing these next 3 episodes as we move towards the end of the first season. But now we're going to talk about a different TV show, and that TV show is Wiseguy. And based on these 3 episodes, you now see, I think it's safe to say, that the pilot is not really representative of what the show is.
Oh, it really isn't.
No, not at
Is it-
all.
It went full The Shield on me, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is...
Well, hopefully after episode 4, you will understand why Jonathan Banks got cast as Mike from Breaking Bad.
No, I totally understand already,
Yeah.
but
It's because of his performance on this show. Like,
it's just an interesting show because you know that in the context, remember, this was made, what?
1989. 1988, 1989.
Kill the
So this was reflective of the aftermath of a lot of IA investigations.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Police corruption is a huge part of it.
And you can see why Jonathan Banks' character is just sort of like, yeah, you have to do everything by the book, because, yeah.
Because, well, yeah, I mean, corruption was so, like, the whole point in the show, right,
To
is
call
that
it
throughout the
endemic
70s...
is... Yeah,
Oh, no,
an
it's an
understatement.
understatement. And that's what I find so interesting is the whole point of this thing is what they are eternally vigilant about is, does working in this field make him more likely to turn? Like, is he going to turn? Is he going to be compromised? Because that's a problem they have. All the guys working in the FBI who working for the mob back in the 70s, it was a huge deal. Like, you know the Whitey Bulger story, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And what I love most about the Whitey Bulger story is, did you watch the documentary about Whitey Bulger that was on Netflix for a while?
No, I ended up watching Black Mass.
Black Mass, the Johnny Depp movie. I haven't seen that yet. I hope it's good. Is it good?
Pretty good.
Yeah, okay. So there's this wonderful moment in it. So Whitey Bulger, either him or his lawyer is explaining that it's important to note that he wasn't a rat. He never gave the FBI anything, right? And he never gave the FBI... They were just more cops on his payroll. Like, these cops who say he was a rat, they were just guys he was paying for information and to cover up his crimes. And there's this amazing scene in it where the cop's like, if he wasn't a rat, why would I have a 700-page file about all of the ratting he did for me? Huh? What about that? And so then they cut to an actual FBI agent who has worked with informants. And she's like, yeah, or a Justice Department person, an FBI agent or Justice Department who's worked with informants in the mob. She's like, yeah, an informer's file would be like 50,000 pages. Because not only do you report every meeting you report to 4 guys, and those guys send back memos, and that all ends up in the file. If there's a file with only 500 pages in it, there's no way that's a real file.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a huge problem, this kind of corruption. So yeah, his desire to do everything by the book, right? It makes perfect sense where the character's coming from. So these 3 episodes, and there's something the show never makes clear. And I mean, you can infer it based on what's happening. But every episode, especially in this in this first season, every episode takes place about a month after the episode before it.
Huh.
And yeah, it's not super clear, and the show, I mean, until characters say it, which happens occasionally, it is never clear how much time is passing in the show. But they wanted to realistically state that he's undercover for decent amounts of time. So after the first episode, he works for... The first episode is the closest, because it's only set a little while after Dave Steelgrave's death.
Yeah.
Right? And we're introduced to Paul Patrice, who is that world's equivalent of John Gotti. Mm-hmm. Right down to his fancy suits. And you meet Sid Royce, one of my favorite characters.
Is he the accountant?
The accountant, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty dope. I have to admit.
He is an accountant who is just 100% a criminal. Like, just no hesitation, no nothing. He calls in a hitman. In the first episode we meet him, he calls in hitmen and tries to frame Sonny for it, while smiling in Sonny's face. Like, he is as dirtbag as they come. And I kind of love that about him.
He's a different kind of criminal.
He's a completely different kind of criminal. Like, that's the thing. He's not a bent nose. He's not a gunman. He's just a guy who went to college and he has no moral compass. And he's like, where can I make the most money? Where can I have the most power? And obviously organized crime is the choice he made. And I kind of love that character. I like his energy. I like him. I like the power play of him just walking into Dave's office. Like, walking in because he shows up at 8:30 because he's a corporate guy. So by the time Sonny gets to work that day, a guy has taken over his brother's office. Like that little stick in that little knife in the ribs from Paul Patrice. And I think that's such a nice touch. But then again, like the show is full of little notes like that. You also have the meeting, which is nice. Oh, there's a teleport beacon. Where does that take us?
It takes us home. We got
Oh, so we don't have to walk all the way back, right? Yes.
yeah. No, we got shit to do.
Oh yeah, because they're
Um,
all in three different things in three different areas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's elements like that. All right, and oh, you also get the having a meeting inside a dog pound.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. But
It is. But you got to be completely undercover. That's the thing. Like you can't. You can't just be showing up. You can't be driving to their secret headquarters in the warehouse district, because then if you are followed, well, there goes your secret warehouse. You know.
that's good government money right there.
Well, and it actually happens in this episode, something that comes up later, which is from then on, they do generally use dentist's office as a meeting place. The logic being that no one will ever question you having to go to the dentist. Like, people understand that people have problems with their teeth. So there's no, like, upper limit of dentist appointments you can have where people will stop believing you have to go to the dentist this week.
Yeah.
And I like that observation. I think that's a nice observation. All right, so I just go in there and I press teleport. But yeah, as you can see. And then after that episode, which is New Blood, which does some nice bit about the wonderful conspiracy theory that Sicilian hitmen are why we eat pizza.
I can't believe that.
No, of course, but it's a great bit of writing.
Well, okay, I'll give you that.
And it's a great bit of writing, whether it's true or not. Whether it's true or not, I think it's a very well-written scene, and it sounds great. But in this, and it does allow for a pretty easy resolution to that story. But even though the resolution to that story is a little on the easy side, it's, I think, very entertaining because you get an elevator exploding on the side of a building,
Die, heretic.
which is a pretty great visual. Like,
It is.
Even if it's a bit of a cheat to get you there, it's a great visual, and you have the invention of the Steve Urkel catchphrase, as he said, "Did I do that?"
Kill the heretic.
Which was all, the Steve Urkel catchphrase early days.
Which reminds me, in regards to our previous scene, or our previous whatever,
Show. Yes.
You are guilty.
did you actually read No Lights, No Sirens?
No.
I'll have to loan you the book next time
You
you're
should,
by a
yeah.
house.
The Plague Lord miscalculated our response time in
No Lights, No Sirens.
Such mistakes deserve
It's by
immediate
Robert
retribution.
Cena, who's the guy you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
And he was like a bent cop in New York because,
Yeah.
of course, Democratic states, bent cops go together.
Again, such a crazy thing to say when when you're talking about the history of Texas law enforcement.
I don't know. How about the history of law enforcement in New York City?
Oh no, New York City is a cesspool.
What about the entire state of New Jersey?
Yeah, also a cesspool.
California?
But then again, California was at its most corrupt when it was a Republican majority state. This thing
I don't know.
The 40s in California policing.
Democratic.
No, it was not Democratic in the 40s. It was
Yeah, it was.
Republican in the. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that. But anyway,
But it's kind of like how Jim Crow laws were enforced by Democrats.
that's true.
Yes.
Because the South was racist back then.
The South
You know
was
what? The South
Democrat,
is still
you mean.
racist, and the Republicans said, "Let's get on board with that racism. We can take the South away." The Republicans didn't used to be racist. First Nixon, but then Ronald Reagan said, "Let's get the racist vote."
Whoa.
And then that's
Whoa,
what they
whoa.
did.
You
What?
fucking keep Ronald Reagan's name out your mouth.
You crazy? We'll talk about this on another time. But it's like, oh my god, it's crazy to say, to object to that. But you know what? Again, that's something we can talk about another time. Let's
Yes.
move on to Oh my god, this episode went hardcore fast with episode 3. Loose cannon.
I know.
What?
It just
It just goes.
yeah.
Yeah. Start us up another mission while we talk about this. So what happens is, famous character actor, I'm blanking on his name, but you may remember him as the original cop from Due South. He still gets plenty of work today. Just the first in the many, many, many super prominent guest stars you'll see on this show. But yeah, very famous actor shows up as Lorenzo Steelgrave, Sonny's nephew, who's 20 years younger than he is, and who is a psychopath.
Oh, it's gonna bother me.
What?
Let me look it up.
You're gonna look up the actor's name?
Yes.
All right, I'll pause this while you look up the actor's name. Go.
Good.
All right, you found the name.
Yep.
It is
David
supposed to say the name.
Marciano.
There we go, David Marciano. All right. Yeah, the star of Due South and
The
Civil
Shield.
Wars. The Shield, where he played the cowardly cop. Oh, he was so good on The Shield.
Everyone's so good on The Shield. The Shield is a
Universally
magnum opus.
one of the best casts you've ever seen.
It's one of the best cop shows anyone's ever seen. Like it's up there with Southlands.
Oh yeah, Southland, and as you'll find out, Wiseguy, The Wire. But anyway,
yes.
So what happened? So David Marciano shows up as a full stop, just psychopath, just a guy who has no limits, who just loves whatever, who just does things because they feel good to him. Just human life means nothing to him. And this is established in an opening scene where Vinny is dating a girl, which he shouldn't be doing. He shouldn't be dating a lady while he's doing this, but it's the confusion that comes from being undercover under your real name and still living your real life. That he goes and he does church functions with his brother, and he meets people. And at some point in the month between episode 2 and episode 3, he has started casually dating a lady. And who's a widow, and her husband was a cop. Who killed himself. That's important to the know. So we right away get Sonny inviting her to dinner, because Sonny's trying to be, and he's trying to be a good guy, and he's trying to show off. But also at that dinner is Lorenzo, who
is a violent psychopath.
A violent psychopath who immediately fixates on her because
psychopath.
Because he's a violent psychopath, but no, because it's Vinny's girl, and he has a girl brought to him for the dinner, but a thing is more valuable if you take it from someone. Is the level at which his mind works. So
I disagree. A thing is more valuable if someone else wants it.
There you go. If someone else wants it, a thing is more valuable. You're right. That is a more accurate statement of how his worldview works. But yeah, so he immediately fixates on her. Meanwhile, we get a kind of amazing scene, I would say, where I don't know if I'd ever seen anything like this before when it happens, and it kind of takes my breath away. They walk out of the restaurant, and this guy just walks around the parking lot, pulling the antennas off of cars.
I don't think you've seen New York in the 80s.
No, that's true. That's true. I haven't seen New York in the 80s accurately represented in television. Just like pull six
Just watch a documentary about Kosovo, and you're okay.
Then you'll know what I'm talking. There you go. But yeah, it's so fascinating because it's just the casual use of insane violence, and so casual and so insane that even Sonny is like, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. And it's like, did he go nuts in the past? Did he go nuts in the past 20 years? Like what the hell happened to him? Like, has he been sent? Because the idea is Lorenzo was being sent over to be an extra hand because Dave's dead and they need family operating things. So you got this guy.
They need blood family to
they need
operate
blood
this
family
shit.
they can trust.
Yeah.
And as he said, is this guy a bent axle? Did they send him just to get rid of him? Like, what the hell am I walking into here?
Well, that'd be my theory because, everyone's all about, oh, you can only trust blood family. I'm like, yeah, how'd that work out for Abel?
That was true. Like, maybe the guy's a psycho. You don't know. And so he immediately proves he's unreasonable by trying to cut out in the business. And this is where I was a little sad because in the pilot, they had the wonderfully named Gravedigger Jones, and they weren't able to get Gravedigger Jones back for this episode,
Yeah.
which makes me sad. The actor was busy, so now Cecil DeMont runs the black part of town. But it would have been nicer had it been Gravedigger Jones that he takes the operation from. But yeah, he goes in. He immediately betrays Sonny. He tries to cut himself in on some action. And in a nice scene, and this is how interesting the politics of that world are, he shows up and he tries to take Sonny's action. And it's what you just said about the dangers of only valuing family. He shows up, he tries to take Sonny's action, and he threatens to kill them in Sonny's office. And Sonny's response is, I gotta call my uncle.
Is a journey.
You know? I gotta call my uncle and find out what's going on with this guy. Not, we've gotta kill that guy. Not a reasonable response, not a, keep that guy on lockdown till whatever. No, his response is, I'll make a few phone calls, because you will be patient with family to a fault.
Well, some people will.
Some people will. Well, here's a fun fact from The Godfather 2. So in Godfather 2, right, Fredo betrays the family.
Yeah.
And Mario Puzo was like, Michael would never kill his brother or have his brother killed. Never. Because that, you don't, and he's like, listen to me, Francis Ford Coppola, you don't understand how these mob people work. Like, even if he betrayed him, he would send him off to the desert, and it would make it clear that his life would be over if he ever left the desert, but he would never kill his brother. That just wouldn't happen in these families. And so Francis Ford Coppola said, no, you don't understand. It has to happen for dramatic purposes. Right? There's, like, the drama doesn't work, the character's arc doesn't work. Michael doesn't completely fall unless he kills his brother. And so Mario Puzo said, okay, he would then I'll give you this. He would never kill his brother while his mother was still alive. And that's why it happens that way in the movie.
Huh.
Because he's like, even if Michael has truly abandoned everything human about him, he would never kill his brother while his mother was still alive. And that is the compromise they came to. Because there's like, no, for dramatic effect, he has to do it. Like, there can be no compromise on this. And that is what they came to. And in the same way, like, this guy, he should put the bag on Lorenzo immediately. But that's not how these families work. There is so much patience, there is so much deference. And like you said, it's because they put blood above all else, even when it's a stupid idea.
And this is why...
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we don't have Italian mobsters.
Happens. And now
we just have these cutthroat Russians.
Yeah, now we just have these mobsters, and that's how, you're right. That's how the Russians take over, because they don't care. They don't care. And none of this means anything to them. But in this episode, that what happens next, of course, is Lorenzo immediately goes after Vinny's girlfriend, who gets raped and tortured for hours while Vinny is racing back to New Jersey. Jesus Christ. And then we get the climax of the episode where, and of course, before then, Vinny does find out that Lorenzo is not actually Lorenzo Steelgrave, but is in fact just a known psycho. Like, just a murderer, I'll just pause while that rings out. Of course, he's a mountain man. A mountain bandit, which is a thing they have in Sicily, which I learned from a book I read when I was young, where a character... it's one of the Aurelio Zen novels. Are you familiar with those? Michael
No.
Dibdin writes them. They're just about a federal cop in Italy. They're good books, so about crime and corruption, occasionally the mob, but like a character in one of them was just like a mountain bandit. Like just a guy who lives in the hills and steals what he wants to and just does whatever because the mafia have so completely run the cops out of Sicily, especially at this time, that there are no cops for him to worry about, and the mob, so there's no government for them to worry about, and the mob are scared of the guy because he's better at sneaking they are, and he'll kill their families, so they just leave the mountain bandits alone. And that's
it's
what
one of
this
those things
character is.
that not a lot of people realize that, hey, banditry was kind of a thing until like the 1930s or 40s.
No, just being bandits. Just being bandits and road agents was a thing for way longer than you think it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. But yeah, and that's what Lorenzo actually is. And so Sonny goes to take him down. Vinny goes to talk to him and take him down and save his girl's life, which he does. And then he kills Lorenzo. In an ending that I think, because the thing about it is, right, so you look at Magnum P.I., right? Magnum P.I. does murder a guy once in the entire series. Once in the entire series, he murders a guy. But it's at the end of a two-parter where that guy has murdered his best friend, he is the man who tortured him and his compatriots in Vietnam. And it turns out that guy, a guy he thought of as one of his closest friends, was actually a sleeper agent, and all of that guy's torturing of him was a setup to set this sleeper agent's cover. And now he finds out the guy's going to leave the country under diplomatic immunity, right? And there's going to be no consequence. And that is what it takes to get Magnum P.I. to kill a guy.
Okay, you know what this reminds me of?
And that's 3 seasons in. Whereas Vinny just kills this guy.
This kind of reminds me of, do you remember that episode where, the episode of The Shield where, the cop's wife gets murdered?
Yeah.
Because he hired a crackhead to go and,
Yep.
get that baseball collection he's had forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. Where he's where at the end, for those of you who haven't seen it, Vic basically stands outside as a police canine goes to town on this guy and goes, I don't hear anything. He might still be dangerous. And
No, that's not that scene. Isn't the time when he lets the canine go nuts on him the rapist?
No.
No, you're right. I'm getting that backwards. But yeah, and then Vic just lets the dog go to town on him. Yeah,
Which
that's a
at
great
the,
scene, by the way.
at the time, you're just sort of like, no, I'm down with this.
Yeah, I'm down with that. They got me there. And the same kind of thing happens in this episode. The guy... And the thing is, logically, Vinny has other options. He's in the FBI. Lorenzo can disappear. Right?
Yeah.
He has that option. But Lorenzo is like, I'm not scared of you. And that is... Lorenzo pushes it because he honestly doesn't think Vinny will kill him. But no, Vinny will kill him. And he does. And they don't make it halfway. And that's the thing that interests me about it. They don't try and give the character cover. Right? They don't do a shot. Another show could have done a shot of Lorenzo rushing him and him having to shoot him. But they don't.
Yeah.
They have Lorenzo say he's going to kill him, and Vinny shoots Lorenzo. And I really respect that about the show. They don't try and give the character an easy out of saying, maybe it was strictly self-defense. They're like, maybe it was strictly self-defense. Or maybe Vinny wanted that guy dead. The show is willing to have you ask that question without giving you the easy out. Because in a normal show, they give you the easy out and they let you question Vinny's motives. But it's much harder to give Vinny the benefit of the doubt when he doesn't wait for the guy to charge him. When he does execute him.
Yeah, when he just, I
Yeah.
do have a certain level of expertise on this. That was
Yeah.
not a good shoot. No,
No, and I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that it was. And yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, not to get your hopes up, you're never going to see Vinny's girlfriend again. Just putting that out there. Wanted to let you know that is a
oh
plot thread
wait,
that
we're
gets
never
dropped.
going to see the woman who has been raped and destroyed psychologically for
And whose
hours on
husband
end.
was a bent cop who killed himself? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to see her again. I'm sure she does fine, but we're not going to see her again on the show.
She's okay.
She'll be okay. I'm not
Yeah.
saying she's already okay. Load up a thing. And now we get to the big episode, Birthday Surprise.
Oh boy.
And the thing is, there was a tradition in 80s shows that you would always just constantly be introducing new family members so that a plot can happen in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that does happen here. This is the setup for this episode is very much the traditional setup for a 80s cop show. And it's like, oh, it's your cousin you never met before. Oh, he gets in trouble with the mob, and oh, the character's got to do a thing, right? Like, you've seen that episode 100 times.
Literally,
This is
yeah.
this is the only one of that episode this show does. And this episode is, I think I would be fair to say, very different than how it would be handled in a normal cop show.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, but you're right to groan a little at the setup. I'm not going to say it's an innovative setup that's different.
Well,
from
even the
everything that's on
execution was kind of.
No, there are enough wrinkles in the execution to make it interesting. And like I said, if you want a scene that sets you on the actor eventually turning into Mike, it's the 3 scenes that Jonathan Banks has with the strung out boxer who got Vinny's cousin killed.
Yeah.
Those are great scenes.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I even like the what do you call it? I even like the mobster, right? The
issue is more that it's tropey.
It is tropey. It is very tropey to have his cousin get killed, just to motivate him.
Yeah, that is my main problem with the episode. It's so tropey it hurts.
Yeah, I mean, we got to motivate him to risk breaking his cover to put him on the outs with Frank to get him personal. But there are a couple of things that I feel redeem the episode. And okay, so the first thing is I really love the Greek, or not Greek. Are they Cypriot? What are they?
They're like Armenians or something.
Yeah, Greek, Cypriot, Armenian, somewhere in that Mediterranean crime basin. I like the introduction of them because it's not the Russians that would eventually take over, right?
The Russians
They're not
eventually take over?
No, not on the show. I'm saying because the Russian takeover didn't happen until the 90s, and the show doesn't get that. The show doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
Right, the Russian takeover doesn't happen until the 90s, so that does not get addressed in the show, which is too bad, because that would be a very interesting period to cover. But the brothers, they're the kind of criminals that the Russians are. You
Well,
know?
yeah, they're
There are these
Bori-
guys coming
they're
from
essentially
Eastern Europe.
Bori without.
Yeah,
They are Vori without the branding. They're the no name of Vori.
exactly. Like, they are these goons who have unlimited money, coming out of Eastern Europe. Oh, hold on one second.
So
Yeah, and I mean, so they've got unlimited money. They've got, they're absolutely ruthless. Again, human life means nothing to them. They're happy to they would rather burn everything down. And there's this note in there that they mention, which is that they killed a federal agent. And there is federal agents, and this is something that shows up in fiction over and over again, they generally don't get killed because the cops know, the criminals know that the cops are going to have a disproportionate response to a federal agent getting killed. Like when a cop gets killed, the gloves come off. By
Well,
comparison,
it's one of those things. The main reason that the federal government went after the Pablo Escobar crime family
Yeah,
was they tortured a
they
DA.
killed Camarena. They killed
Yeah.
Kiki Camarena. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
If they hadn't done that, there wouldn't have been this giant there wouldn't have been this giant pressure to go after them. Yeah, and I mean, and
here's the thing.
there was a whole movie about that. Camarena.
if they hadn't tortured him to death,
Yeah. Who the hell
Like-
knows, right?
okay, yeah, it's one of those things where I would actually argue that if they hadn't tortured him to death, like, okay,
Right. If he had just gotten killed,
if he had just gotten killed,
that they might have not taken it as seriously, is what you're saying.
oh yeah, no, that man dying
Yeah.
started 10 years of like
Of
work.
horrible drug war.
Yeah.
It's called the TV show Narcos.
Yeah,
And by the way, the
so excited for Narcos to come back.
oh yeah, no, I want to see what they do with the Sinaloa cartel and all of the Mexican wars. The funny thing about the show Narcos, I made a statement at the beginning of this Wiseguy segment about how it's not really clear how much time is passing, and that when I told you it was a month between episodes, it's not immediately clear. You want to talk about a show that's not clear about how much time is passing?
Narcos.
Watch the 2 seasons of the show Narcos, and then have someone tell you that from the moment that cop gets there to when he gets Pablo Escobar gets killed, 11 years passed.
Yeah,
Like 11 years. The show makes it look like it happened over the course of 18 months.
Yeah.
11 years.
I mean, at least they got the events mostly right.
Yeah.
Um,
But they do not give you a sense of the time scale at all. on that
if
show.
you are interested in the matter, I highly recommend the insane book, Killing Pablo.
Yeah, which is one of the many inspirations for that show. And did they make a movie of Killing Pablo?
I don't think so, but
All right, I would have to check that. Or that might be that they canceled the movie because Narcos was happening.
I don't know.
But anyway,
I
but yeah,
own the book.
and-
It's phenomenal. It's by a guy who's literally insane. No, this.
I believe you.
Sorry, give me a second.
Yeah. But I will continue. What we can get back to that book in the recommendations, which we'll do in a minute. What I found so impressive, though, is even though it is by a wide margin, you're right, the most cliched episode of the episodes we watched this week, it still has great moments in it. It has the scenes with Frank and that guy. You got plenty of great acting from all of the actors, and you need the episode for a moment of bonding between, because this can't be a show about a guy constantly hating the mob while working on taking down the mob. There's no show if he doesn't see the value in their lifestyle and if he doesn't have legitimate fondness for Sonny Steelgrave, right? And
okay,
so you
but
need
here's
it-
my counter. If you're going to present the mob as this necessary force, as this possibly good force, then you have to present it as how it rose. This sort of extrajudicial method of obtaining justice.
There is some amount of that in there because, again,
Not in this
how does
episode.
in this episode, Vinny, on one level, Vinny is pissed that Kiki is never going to have any kind of justice because they're going to need him to testify and they're going to need to give him a deal to keep Vinny's cover intact. And what does Sonny do for him? He kills the guy who killed his cousin. The U.S. government was never going to give Vinny the justice and Vinny's cousin the justice he deserved, and Sonny does that for him. I think that is worth saying. I think that fits loosely into the kind of thing you're talking about.
Okay.
if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's very loose, but at the same time,
Power.
But again, this isn't a documentary about the mob. It's still
Yeah.
a show about cops trying to get rid of the mob. But at the same time, it addresses the value of this. Because Kiki's a bad guy, and yeah, you know, as a
needs to
favor
go.
to him. And the important part is, what I love about it is, Sonny values Vinny over the possible deal with the Greeks and over, and over this other guy's life. Sonny knows full well when Kiki doesn't show up for the meeting, it could blow the meeting. But he kills him anyway. Just as a favor to Vinny. And I think that while the episode is a cliche, it's a shortcut to let you understand things about these characters and give characters, let us more into this world. And I think it's valuable for that reason, even though you're right, it's a cliche and they could have done it way more elegant. You're absolutely right. Because, I mean, literally, we meet Vinny's cousin for one scene before he gets killed, and we have to have Vinny talk about why they were so close. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you didn't mention him in the last 3 episodes, Vinny. He never came up when you were talking about how everybody thinks you're a hood. You know, maybe you should have gone back and edited those episodes where just mentioned the one cousin who doesn't care that you're a hood.
Heretic.
But yeah, that is a problem. And I agree with you that it's a problem, but I think it's valuable for setting up the characters and getting things going. But you're right, it could have been handled far more elegantly than it's
well,
handled.
remember,
And it
I
is-
don't have the perspective you do on the
Oh,
entire
no, yeah,
series.
of where it's going, exactly.
Yeah.
So I know that this is an important. I mean, you do understand a little that it's important for their relationship, but you don't know where it's going afterwards. So you don't understand why. So I don't want to. I 100% agree with you that it is the weakest of the 3 episodes we watched.
Far
And it is.
and away.
Yeah, far and away. And I will admit that it's one of the weaker episodes of Wiseguy before Wiseguy gets weird. And when Wiseguy gets weird, well, you'll see.
I'm just thinking, like, The Shield.
Okay, the thing is, I'm not going to tell you what's coming in season 2.
Is a judge.
Because it becomes, in many ways, such a completely different show that it's worth having a conversation about when we get there. But
All right.
We're still in season 1. There's plenty of plot twists and guest stars you don't see coming. There's actually a huge guest star in the very next episode that you're going to say, wow, she was in an episode of Wiseguy? And the answer is, yeah, she was. But you know what? We'll get there. For now, I will agree that it is the weakest episode. I think it's important, but I am not going to question your assessment of it at all. But how great is Jonathan Banks? Can we just say, how
Yeah.
great is Jonathan Banks? When he goes off on Vinny, though, oh my god. Like, when he just breaks out of the hardcore, the driven persona, and we just lays into Vinny. It is so good to watch.
It really is.
Because that's the thing, like, when he breaks containment, wow. It's such a performance, and it's always good. That's the thing, he's always good, and he always stays good. He's like... And that's why I love Breaking Bad, for, like, giving this actor who's always been fantastic this role to not just shine in, but to be the kind of a career-defining performance that Wiseguy was never popular enough to be. And honestly, the kind of performance he's doing here wasn't rewarded by acting at the time. You know? The kind of method performances they're all doing here is not the kind of thing that was being rewarded at this point in the 80s. I should check who was winning Emmys at the time, because sure as hell wasn't Wiseguy. So, that's going to be it for the show this week. You want to recommend that book, Killing Pablo.
Killing Pablo and No Lights, No Sirens by Robert Cena.
I will read this one the second I get it off of the Gun Wrangler, and I'll do my own little book report on it.
Yeah,
So that sounds
it's a
pretty
weird
exciting.
world.
Okay.
Because you have to remember that a lot of what we're seeing in Wise Guys is coming out of reports
is
from the
aftermath
late.
of
Yeah.
this. Yeah. And that's going to come up in the next batch of episodes we watch. Something that specifically references cops on the take. That is going to be something they address. It's not a big spoiler. I'm not going to tell you how. But cops on the take is something that gets addressed as we go forward. All right. So do you... my own recommendation. Obviously, buy Wiseguy. You can get the whole series on Amazon on DVD.
Well, you can't get the whole thing.
Well, no, there's 7 episodes you like can't buy, but you can get most of the show on Amazon for a very reasonable price. Did you call in an airstrike? Oh no, we still have to get to the bunker, right?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, you can get it for a pretty reasonable price on Amazon. I saw it for like $45. It's 3 seasons of television and 10 episodes. I don't know if the movie's on there, but there you go. So yeah, we will talk about that more, and I'm excited to go forward because there are amazing behind-the-scenes stories from this show that I will share with people because it has one of the craziest runs that any show has ever run. It's pretty fantastic. All right, do you think you have a quiz for Man in the High Castle? Is there something you can ask people about?
Huh.
You are guilty.
Okay. It's going to be a really deep cut.
Okay.
What was Open for Grouper Smith's rank in the American military before the Nazis won?
Wow, that is a deep cut.
It is the deepest of cuts.
All right. I forgot to make a recommendation. I'm going to recommend a game that's coming out next week. It's called Phantom Doctrine, right? And this is more of a recommendation for you than for our viewers.
Okay.
So it's XCOM, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the base building and the looking at hotspots and the randomly generated tactical missions. It's XCOM set in 1983 espionage world.
Sounds like the Bureau, but not shitty.
Exactly. No aliens, no nothing. There is a multinational crime conspiracy, because it's a video game, but the game starts with, you can play either as CIA or as the KGB, figuring this stuff out, and the game starts, I'm playing the CIA side, starts in Beirut right before the embassy bombing, and it works the Beirut embassy bombing into the plot of the game.
Wow.
And it's pretty despicable that they did it. But then again, like,
wow.
we're now 35 years ahead of it, and how many people use stuff? I mean, by the 80s, what were they doing with World War II, right? We're now 35 years away from the embassy bombing, so I guess you're allowed to pull that crap.
I guess.
It does feel weird, though. I mean, but think about it. Like, they're now saying the Cuban Missile Crisis was started by mutants. You know? Like...
Okay.
Or resolved by like people play with history, and I guess we're far enough away. It seems crazy that we're far enough away from the Beirut embassy bombing to be using it as a fodder for a James Bond style experience. But yeah, it is the exact gameplay of the modern XCOM, like exact, but set in the world of espionage in the 1980s, and you can play as either the CIA or the KGB. It's quite impressive, and they did a great job. It's called Phantom Doctrine. Check it out. All right, so I guess we will see y'all back here next time for more Wiseguy, episode 105 to 107. And we're going to be back for more, No, it's not the rest of the season. It's 106 to 108 of Man in the High Castle.
Yep.
And do you know what I like about the fact that we're doing 3 Man in the High Castles a week?
What's that?
What I like is that I'm not going to have to wait a week before watching the first episode of season 2.
I'm glad I've got you so hooked.
No, I was not. I was going to cheat. So I'm glad we arranged it. I'm glad we arranged it that way, because I would have cheated. So just putting that out there. All right, I will see you. I guess we'll see you back here for more. But until then, au revoir.
Keep it real.